Hello, and welcome to a special bonus episode of Locked On Lakers. The Lakers and Rob Pelinka have agreed to a contract extension that includes a promotion and more long-term security for Rob Pelinka. Good call. Get into that coming up next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Lakers your first listen every day, Monday through Friday, your team every day, always free, never behind a paywall. Sometimes we'll be on weekends, including like Saturday with the Lakers taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves in game one of the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can also catch the show, hang out with a community of almost 35,000 subscribers. Really fun, energetic, smart, knowledgeable. We like to use your comments in the comments section as part of the show. Make sure to hit us up on Twitter at Can Brothers. We love to use our audience, our viewership, our listeners as part of the show. I'm Andy Kamenetzky, co-host of Locked On Lakers. My brother Brian, unavailable to be here right now, but I just wanted to lay out some quick thoughts about Rob Pelinka getting this extension. The news broke via Shams Charania from ESPN on Twitter. Quote, the Los Angeles Lakers have signed Rob Pelinka to a contract extension with his new title as president of basketball operations, along with general manager. Sources tell ESPN. Lakers leadership is now signed long-term with Pelinka and coach JJ Redick. The Lakers then released a statement, quote, the Los Angeles Lakers have extended their agreement with Rob Pelinka, naming him president of basketball operations and general manager. Then the statement from Jeannie Buss. For 8 seasons, I have relied on Rob's vision and leadership to do what's best for the Lakers organization. I value his partnership and professionalism and believe in his ability to deliver championship caliber basketball for Los Angeles and Lakers fans everywhere. The statement then concludes by saying Pelinka joined the Lakers in 2017 as general manager, was named vice president of basketball operations and general manager in 2020. So obviously this extension includes a promotion. There's no details yet in terms of how long the extension runs through, but were I to guess, it is pretty closely aligned with JJ Redick's contract. Rob and JJ, by all public appearances and everything I've heard privately, are very aligned with their vision, have a very good working relationship. Rob also has a lot at stake with hiring JJ Redick, given all of the turmoil that has gone on with this organization of late, and really ever since Phil Jackson, in their inability to land on a head coach that actually sticks around for more than a couple years. So it would make sense that the two of them would be lined up. And look, as far as Pelinka getting this extension and the promotion, it's going to feel like, to a lot of people, that Nico Harrison in many ways should be getting some type of either recognition, award, maybe a future role with the Lakers organization, because the dominant story of Rob Pelinka's 24-25 season is Luka Dončić, and not just landing Luka Dončić and being the guy that Nico Harrison reached out to, clearly trusted in terms of being able to keep this thing quiet, being able to negotiate in good faith over a period of time without anything ever getting out, which is no reason to relitigate any of this with Nico Harrison. But it's very clear that doing this very quietly, very cleanly was one of Nico Harrison's highest priorities. Rob Pelinka was able to do that, but also in the process of making this deal, not giving up Austin Reeves to bring in Luka, not giving up Dalton Connect to bring in Luka, not giving up more than a first-round pick. Like, these things in and of itself could feel like both the fodder and the impetus for Pelinka's extension, but also like he's being gift-wrapped an extension for being the guy fortunate enough to have Luka Dončić dropped into his lap. But I actually think that's not giving Rob Pelinka enough credit for 24-25 in its entirety, because this stretches back to the offseason and hiring JJ Redick and yes, the coaching search process was at times kind of messy, felt kind of both haphazard and sometimes like a fake coaching search when what they really wanted to do was just hire JJ Redick, but they had to go through the kabuki theater of looking like they were actually feeling out other candidates or waiting out JJ to finish up with ESPN, calling games, and then the Dan Hurley of it all. But the bottom line is JJ Redick thus far seems like he was a very good hire. He, despite being a first time head coach of any players that older than 10 years old, helped lead the Lakers to a 50-win season. He's not going to win Coach of the Year, but he's going to get some Coach of the Year votes. Very detail-oriented, very culture-building oriented, which is, side note, something this organization has been lacking for a while, and it might not even be reading too much into what's going on well for Pelinka to give some credit to JJ in terms of culture building. But nonetheless, this was something that Rob Pelinka was in charge of. And thus far, it seems like he made a very good choice. Then drafting Dalton Knecht. And again, it's another situation where it may feel like this landed in Rob Pelinka's lap. Dalton Knecht slipped much further than any of the draft analysts or prognosticators expected. But you can still overthink things. And last year, the Lakers ended up drafting Jalen Hood-Schifino with Brandon Podziemski, Jaime Jaquez, other players that would have been much better, more immediately ready to help this team. Frankly, just more of NBA players. I hope Jalen Hood-Schifino can get his career on track. He's had a truly brutal run of injuries, but he was not the right selection. So ultimately, it does not feel like Rob Pelinka either overthought this or really slipped on it. Other than maybe Yves Missi in New Orleans, there's nobody immediately in the vicinity of when they took Dalton Knecht that feels like maybe would end up a better pick. Guys like Keyshawn George or Isaiah Collier, like they almost slipped out of the first round. So if they end up better than Knecht, a lot of general managers ultimately, a lot of draft people ultimately slipped on that. But Dalton Knecht so far seems like a very good pick. Making the Dorian Finney-Smith trade without having to give up too much in the process. But then you start getting to finding Jordan Goodwin, who ultimately turned into a rotation player for the Lakers, somebody that's really provided a lot of defensive utility, exceptional rebounding for his position. He's fit in with the group that JJ likes to call the Banshees, with Vando and DFS and Gabe Vincent, just the super play hard, defensive oriented group. To find a guy like that on a two-way deal, that's an extremely detail-oriented achievement for under Rob Pelinka. Even guys like Christian Koloko and Trey Jemison III on two ways, they held up pretty well during periods where Anthony Davis, Jackson Hayes, or both were hurt, and the Lakers needed to find somebody viable for center minutes in a really competitive Western Conference. They signed Christian Koloko during the offseason. They were willing to wait out the period before he was cleared because they believed in what he could bring. Trey Jemison has been bouncing around on largely two-way deals. Those guys were good signings, good finds. And again, those happened under Rob Pelinka's leadership. And in particular, they jump out to me because both Brian and I have been very critical of Rob Pelinka at times because he has not struck us as properly detail-oriented, like looking at a lot of the little things that help build a team, that has sometimes felt like an extension of this organization's ethos where it's all about stars and nothing else matters. And obviously the NBA is a talent-driven league and stars do matter, but stars are not the only thing that ultimately leads you to either a championship or just building sustainable success. And this has been a really good year for Rob Pelinka when it comes to details. Like, does that mean, because Rob Pelinka's, I think, time running the Lakers organization, running basketball ops. It's had a lot of highs and a lot of lows. We've seen Rob Pelinka do good work undoing very bad decisions. Russell Westbrook deal as the number one example of this. Does this season necessarily convince me that Rob Pelinka's learned all the lessons he's going to be great moving forward? Not necessarily, but this season makes it very understandable why Jeannie Buss gave him an extension that, to be totally honest, I think even if the Luka deal hadn't happened, my guess is this is what would have happened anyway, because it's very clear through all the highs, all the lows, through the controversies, Jeannie really believes in Rob Pelinka. She trusts Rob Pelinka. I have said before, over the course of hosting this show and whether on ESPN, writing for The Athletic, whatever, there have been many times where I've thought the Lakers could and should do better than Rob Pelinka. I might feel that way in a couple of years, but based on this season, Rob did really good work. And I don't blame Jeannie Buss or question whether or why she would want to do that this season. I think this has been a really strong year for Rob Pelinka. I think he should get some consideration for executive of the year. I don't know if he'll win because I've never got the impression he's particularly popular among his peers. I've always heard the opposite, quite frankly, but it's been a really good year for Rob, and hopefully a year that he continues building on, a year that he continues focusing on some of the things that are really important in terms of building sustainable success. And again, I understand why he got this extension, and I have no complaints about it. He's had a really, really good year that I think, again, should be talked about through the lens of more than just Luka Dončić and landing a generational superstar just now hitting his prime. Obviously, we're going to have more shows coming up. We're going to have a post-game show after Game 1 on Saturday between the Lakers and the Wolves. So make sure you are subscribing on audio, YouTube, both, so you never miss anything. Before I leave, going to make sure that everybody knows that Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, marketing, and more. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent, if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can help connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. You can also find top freelancers that don't necessarily require that sort of commitment, but you will find the right person for your business. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent. Grow your business today. Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank balance and wondered, where did all the money go? But between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, family, your kids are super expensive. It is easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility over your finances, control over your finances. Monarch Money, it's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you can stop just managing your money. You can start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, to track spending, even plan long-term goals. You can manage your money with another partner more smoothly. You can share personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first order. That's monarchmoney.com, LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We will see everybody after Game 1.